So, the for the school community session, item number 2, I ask for any public participation. And Emily, please read.
Sure, thank you. The board welcomes public comment at our meetings. If anyone is speaking, we ask that you state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in order to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. I will give you notice when your time is up. Happy to hear from our community, but at a meeting like tonight's, it should not be expected that the board or administration will respond. The public comment period is not a time for public discussion. If necessary, the member of the public will be contacted for follow-up. If you are joining us via Zoom, please raise your hand and you will be called upon. We do not have any members of the public in person. Do we have any members of the public on Zoom? No. Okay, thank you. Well,
She read that all for nothing.
that's okay. It's good record.
All right, Board of Education Student Representatives report. We have Lucy and Eli being zoomed in this evening because they're in the middle of finals. Thank you for taking the time to join us during this busy time and get going. Who's first?
I'm first. All right, so as you said, exams start tomorrow. So period 1 and 2 exams are tomorrow. Period 3 and 4 exams are on Thursday, and period 5 and 6 are on Friday. And with exams marks the end of trimester 1. So it's positive. I'm a third of the way through my junior year. Fall sports have ended for everyone, which is bittersweet because I had a lot of fun. You know, it's not just being a part of the team, like playing the sport, you really feel like you're a part of the group, which is such a positive thing. But that does mean winter sports are starting. So boys and girls basketball, boys and girls ice hockey, boys and girls indoor track, skiing, boys swimming, wrestling, fencing, gymnastics, cheerleading. The dance team and unified sports are all starting up in the coming days or weeks. And our school play is being rehearsed and planned right now. And it will be going on from December 8th, 9th, and 10th at 7 p.m. in our auditorium. And tickets are sold in advance, and it's $10 online and $15 if you show up the day of the play in person. And I know my little brother went last year with my parents and he said he had a great time. And I know they work really hard for that. Going to do a great job.
Thank you.
In addition to the play, we've got a few more events coming up in the Dining and Assembly Hall. On December 14th, we have a chorus concert. It's free, so there's no reason not to go unless you have a prior commitment, but I've got a few friends who will be participating in it, and they've been working really hard, so I'll definitely try and make it there to support them. About a week later, on December 21st, there's a jazz band concert. And that kind of wraps up the main events in the auditorium. We also have, in preparation for winter break, which I'm really looking forward to, especially after this week, we have a pep rally, and that's going to take place on the last day before we leave for break, so it's a half day. I think classes will end around 11:30 and we'll go straight into the pep rally. And to prep for that, student leadership has been working to come up with some spirit themes to get everyone in that holiday spirit, school spirit. I can't reveal what those are yet, but hopefully by next meeting, we'll be able to let you know. And then after the pep rally, we've got a double header of girls and boys basketball that night. So just keep that spirit going. And finally, this is really weird to say because I won't be participating in it, but underclassmen are starting to make their school schedules for next year. So it's crazy that the 2023-24 school years come around this quickly, and just odd that after all this time at hand, it's kind of coming to a close.
Yeah. Well, you can tell us in private what the themes are. Come on. All right. Any questions for Eli or Lucy?
Oh, just thank you for taking time. We always love to see and hear you, and your input is great. Thank you.
Good luck on your exams.
Yeah, good
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Cook.
Yes, just a brief report. It's great. Our student reps covered a lot of the events I wanted to share that were going on in the school district. It is amazing to think that we're entering the second trimester already. But two documents I wanted to share with the board. The first was a letter that would be co-signed by Chairman Glassman and myself to the Office of School Construction and Grants. And we want to put forward Madison Public Schools argument about why we should be considered for the grant program in the future. Had correspondence with the office through some meetings that they've had, but we've been unable to get our questions answered. They do have a new director, and so we're turning to the letter route rather than email and phone calls. Best also to put our position forward and also share that with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and our local politicians, as well as First Selectwoman Peggy Lyon. So just wanted to share that with the board in advance, because we're writing on your behalf, and see if there was any suggestions to add or any concerns with that or any questions.
I will say this real quick, just to add on to that. While we were at the CAVE conference, which I'll talk about under board members' comments for a moment, I've been receiving communications from other chairpersons from around the state, asking, "Hey, are you guys applying? Who's applying? Whatever." And at CAVE, there was a question put to one of our sessions about whether you're applying or not, and it was encouraged strongly to apply. I don't know that it makes sense for us to go through the motions to apply when we can't complete the application, because it requires a study, a design plan done by a professional designer of these systems. And in good conscience, it doesn't really feel right to put in the application and do all that work when we don't even have a complete application. So that's when I discussed this with Craig and Dr. Cook, and we decided the best thing to do would be, and they wanted everyone to apply to exert more pressure on the state, that like, hey, can you extend it? Can you do another one next year? Whatever, to show that there was a lot of interest, rather than the reason for a paltry number of applications would reinforce in someone's mind that, well, there was no interest in it. That's not the case. So we decided that this would be a good positive step that would not require the entailed process of doing a whole application that we know is futile, but still register our interest in the program. And so that's what we came up with. Any questions?
Just a clarification that the grant required that the project be completed by this, is it July or?
December of 2024, which was not possible with the projects we were. Well, actually, no, excuse me, December 2023. Yeah, 23. That was the we believe we can complete it by 24. Eventually both projects. Okay, so we will plan to submit that to the state tomorrow.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
The next item wanted to share, because I think this is certainly is a change in terms of the increase that projected our NASDAQ enrollment projections. We see this every year. It's not as thorough as other studies you've seen. For instance, this would not qualify to submit with a school construction grant. So we recently went through SLAM Collaborative, which was a firm that did a more in-depth study. They did not see as dramatic increase, but certainly this caused us a moment to pause and look at the results of this, just to kind of share some high level observations of what we're seeing here. You'll see that Connecticut as a whole is still predicted to decline, continuing through 2020, 2030 by 6% total. So Connecticut's student enrollment is on the decline. Ours is predicted to increase over the next 10 years. So starting from 2022 to 2032 by 28%, or 674 students. So that's a pretty significant increase for us. I have shared that this report with SLAM Collaborative and planning a new study more in depth for the new year in 2023, so we can have a good handle on it. I'm certainly sharing it with the building committee and others. As the board knows, following our successful referendum, we have added 4 classrooms as we looked at increased enrollment. One in kindergarten and 3 other classrooms throughout the new building. So we are, working to address that, but it's pretty sharp enrollment increases in some areas. As you can see, the birth rate in Madison in 2021 was 140 children, and so that is more than it was 5 years ago, which was 94. So that's a pretty big increase. The predicted enrollment would be a high of 233 kindergarten students in 26-27. Right now, our largest classes are at the high school. We don't have any classes above 200 except grades 10, 11, and 12. So that is a pretty significant increase. So we will share, like I said, we've shared this with the administration. We'll share it with the building committee, and then we will ask for a more in-depth review, and I'll share that with the board. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention as soon as that was received by us. And answer any questions, or if there's any follow-up you'd like. Certainly.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
In one of the planning documents, there was like 3 projections. Remember, there was like a mid-level, a lower to more conservative. Where does this?
This
Is
is
like even higher than the high?
it's a little bit higher than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that was we did have that option, but
Right.
this is closer to that, but still higher.
Right. And for the state, we wouldn't have been able to predict the high, in terms of
Right,
the
and we
state.
wouldn't have gotten like reimbursement if we,
Right.
so we
Yeah.
still would be bound to the size of the current school planning.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
so this information doesn't. Thank you.
We did take into account more growth
Right.
than was planned. So in 2 ways with the school design right now, it's not approved yet. But the design so far includes 4 extra classrooms for the new school and also some swing space,
Mhm.
like STEM room, whatever, that could be converted to a regular classroom if need be. So I don't anticipate this being an issue for the capacity of the school. And I just wanted to point that out so no one gets worried.
Thank you. That completes my report.
All right. Board member comments. I would just like to start by saying the CABE CAPS conference was a couple weeks ago on the 17th, 18th, 19th of November, and CABE is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. CAPS is the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, and the 2 meet together at the same shared conference, which is pretty successful format, I think, and it's really helpful for board and superintendent collegiality. And we had 5 members attend this year, which is, I believe, more than we've had in a while. But thank you all who were able to attend. It was an excellent event. There were seminars that were very helpful to our practice as board members. And there was just some time for us to kind of hang out and build our intra-board collegiality. And I just think it was helpful, and I had a good time, and I hope the other people who attended did. And just plugging that hopefully next year we can also show up in force. I realize not everybody can make it all the time, so this is not any kind of browbeating. I'm trying to use a carrot rather than a stick.
to point out that it really was an awesome time. And I think the people who went really enjoyed it. So thank you. Any other board member comments? Comments? You know what? Nobody wants to tell me I look pretty dapper tonight, or you do? No.
I feel like Ed McMahon.
You do? Yes, man. Yes. Okay, thank you. Moving on, audience response to information presented. Is there any viewing audience? No? Okay, our item number 7, our Board of Selectmen liaison. I don't see Scott online. So I think we will pass on
We had all
that.
those charter questions.
Yeah, we just started. Item 8, board committees and liaison updates, and we'll start with curriculum and student development. Steve.
We did not meet since the last meeting, and our next meeting is December 13th.
Thank you. Facilities committee, Emily.
We also have not met since our last board meeting or report.
Okay, thank you. Finance committee, which did meet tonight, Galen.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. We met today. The meeting was called to order at about 5:34. We opened by noting changes to the budget calendar. Key dates include the upcoming December 7th Administration Council retreat. Our next Board of Finance Committee meeting is December 13th. On the 21st of December, we hope to have the proposed budget distributed to everybody here at the board. On January 10th, there's a budget workshop. Seth proposed an item, agenda item for the workshop to examine the potential budget impact of open choice if that program were to be implemented in 2024, 25 or beyond. I'd also like to take this opportunity to ask everybody on the board to please feel free to submit any other ideas, questions, agenda items that you'd like to see for the workshop. Dr. Cook stated that the administration would list some items for positions and purchases, not as budget requests for the current budget cycle of 23-24, but as possible requests for future years as an indication of priorities and trends. One such request might be to continue the elementary school social workers in 24-25 after the ESSER grants. I think that's the year step down, and there's more on that to follow. Dr. Cook also noted the addition of key town dates, including the February 8th distribution of the budget to the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen, and then the public hearing that's on February 28th. We moved the second item of the agenda. So Stacy Novitz informed the board of projected increases in fuel, electricity, and health insurance. So fuel is budget for estimated to go up by 20%. This includes gas for both the schools and for transportation. In addition, our contract with Durham Transportation also calls for a 2.5% annual increase, which is fairly low. We're in year 2 out of 5 for that contract. There's good news, and the electricity bill is scheduled or slated to go up about 5%. That's being mitigated by the installation of solar panels and LED lights. And then health insurance is projected to be up 9% in kind of a post-COVID catch-up. Our district is self-insured. I took a look at the numbers really quickly. The 10-year average for health insurance is about a 3% annual increase. It can vary, but it's been pretty successful. Also, by way of context, our 10-year annual budget, overall budget increase is about 1.8%. And special ed fluctuates by about goes up about 4.5% annually, although there's considerable fluctuation depending. The committee asked Dr. Cook what contingency plans that we have in place to realize savings in case costs continue to rise, both for the 2023-24 cycle and the out years. And the answers were first that we have a very good history of accurate budgeting, but in an extreme case, we could enact a budget freeze, which would involve delaying purchases and possibly hiring or freezing new hires. The discussion moved to open items. It was noted that on average, the board has returned about $300,000 a year to the town over the last 7 years. This led to a conversation about special ed, which reserve stands at about $350,000.
Diane asked for trends in outplacement and special ed requests. Emily thought that a history of spending internally and in relation to our DIRG would be very helpful to put things in context. Dr. Cook noted the value of social workers at the lower grades. Emily lent her expertise by noting the different skills and needs by grade level services they provide. I'd like to reiterate my call for any budget workshop topics. There are no public questions, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:04.
Thank you. Any questions for Galen? No? Mary Ann, any questions from Peanut Land? Okay, thank you. Personnel Committee.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
The Personnel Committee did meet since we last met, and we've started negotiations with the new nurses union, and we have meetings ongoing.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Policy Committee, Leanne,
All right.
you have a
buckle up.
little bit to talk about.
So policy committee did meet tonight. We had a full agenda. I'm just gonna briefly talk about the meeting tonight, and then I'm gonna move on to talk about all of the policies that we have on our agenda this evening for either first read or second read action items. So the meeting started at 6:34. We discussed about 14 different policies, most in the 5,000 and 9,000 series for proposed for rescission. And of those, the committee agreed that we are going to recommend to the board to waive the second read. It is not on the agenda tonight. It will be on the agenda at the next board ed meeting. Then we also discussed policies for review. We did briefly talk about policy 6030 school calendar, which is on the agenda this evening for a second read and an action item. We just wanted to clarify some of the Shipman and Goodwin changes that was made from the last read. The first read was quite some time ago. And so we just wanted to make certain that we had a clean copy coming forward to the board meeting tonight. Then we discussed policy 7551, naming and renaming of schools. We made some amendments to it, and that will go for a first read to the board at the next meeting. We made some minor changes to the board member oath of office, policy 9220.2. That will also go as a first read at the next board meeting. Then we discussed policies 9220.3, board member resignation, and 9220.5, unexpired term fulfillment vacancies. These two policies were originally discussed for rescission and revision. However, due to the changes in the recent charter for the town of Madison, we're going to have to take a look at policy 9220.3 and revise it further, so that will go back to committee for the next meeting. And 9220.5, we feel that will remain exactly the same as it stands today. So no revisions or rescissions for that particular policy. Then we discussed 9325.43, attendance at meetings via electronic communication. We made some changes to it, and that will go forward to the board as first read at the next meeting. And we adjourned to 7:29. And now I will talk about the policies that are in the agenda for tonight. The first policy, and I thought that I can review for each policy quickly now, so that when we come to the action items, it can just be votes. So the first policy is listed as a first read, proposed for rescission, policy 5070.1, assignment of new students to classes and grade levels. This particular policy, it somehow missed the first read. We accidentally left it off, and it actually is associated with another policy, policy. Wrong papers. 5070.1 is the assignment of new students to classes and grade levels, and that policy is becoming 6080.23, which is on the agenda tonight for a second read and action item. There's also a regulation associated with it. So policy 5070.1 is a simple rescission, and so I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add 5070.1 as an action item for tonight, and then make a motion to waive the second read so that it is action item tonight.
Okay, so do I have a motion by Diane to amend the agenda to create action item number 9.1 to move policy 5070.1 to a vote tonight? Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second from Maureen. Okay, any discussion on that? No, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. And any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, and then now, in order to be able to move this as an action item later, we need to. I need a motion, I assume from Diane,
To waive.
to waive the second reading of policy 5070.1. Do I have a second? Jen, okay. Motion by Diane, seconded by Jen to waive the second reading of policy 5070.1. Any discussion? Discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? No, it's 8-0. Thank you very much.
And so now I will discuss the policies that are on the agenda for a second reading tonight, and they are action items. They are all proposed for rescission. And I just wanted to go quickly through them because it's been a while since the first reading. So the first policy is 2250 crisis management. And so crisis management, Shipman and Goodwin suggested review of the district's safety and security plan. They recommend that the board review its safety and security plan, the physical restraint and seclusion policy, the suicide prevention policy, and the safe school climate policy in conjunction with this policy, 2250 crisis management, to determine if the policy continues to be necessary or is duplicative. So policy 5120.4.1 is a suicide prevention and intervention policy, and it is for a second read and action item tonight. Policy 5144 is the physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout, which is also for a second read and action item tonight. Policy 5131.914, safe school climate policy, was revised on April 5th, 2022. Each school safety and security plan is updated yearly as prescribed by the Department of Emergency Management Services. And so all the mentioned policies that Shipman and Goodwin suggested that we review, we did. Therefore, policy 2250 crisis management is up for rescission tonight. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Then we have policy 5010. Student policies, goals, and priority objectives. This is for second read and rescission tonight. The following policies were proposed for rescission for Shipman and Goodwin as either they are considered not mandatory, unnecessary, or overlap with other policies. And so 5020 is equal educational opportunity. 1 second. So under 5010 student policies, goals, priority objectives, this policy is not necessary and Shipman and Goodwin recommends repeal. The policy addresses student goals and is more appropriate for a position statement rather than a board policy. If the board wishes to retain the policy, they recommend review. So 5010 is recommended for rescission. 5020 is equal educational opportunity. This policy is not necessary and Shipman and Goodwin recommends repeal. In addition, this policy addresses opportunity for maximum educational development and is better suited for a position statement. So 5020 is up for rescission tonight. Policy 5030.1, intra-district school attendance areas. Shipman and Goodwin recommended repealing this policy because it is unnecessary and outdated. If the board wishes to retain the policy, they recommend the policy be consolidated with all policies regarding school attendance areas, and that the policy address the major goals to be met when designing such areas. So this policy 5030.1, intra-district school attendance areas, is up for rescission tonight. Then we have policy 5040, school census. Shipman and Goodwin recommended that the board repeal this policy because it is unnecessary. State law outlines Board of Ed responsibilities for participation in the PSIS. 5060.3, withdrawal from school and dropouts. This policy is also up for rescission tonight. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5113. Student attendance, truancy, and chronic absenteeism. Policy 5113 was revised on April 5th of 2022, and there's also regulation number 5113R. So 5060.3, withdrawal from school dropouts, is also up for rescission tonight. And we have 5070.2, Assignment of former homeschooled students to class. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy because it is not mandatory. The topic concerns district operations and is best included in a regulation or school procedures. If the board wishes to retain this policy, we recommend additional legal review. They further recommend consolidation with policy 6080.23 homeschooling. Policy 6080.23 homeschooling is a second read tonight and is on the agenda as an action item. Then we have 5080.1 tardiness. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy because it is not mandatory. The topic concerns day-to-day operations and is best included in a regulation or a school procedure. So that is up for decision tonight. Then we have 5080.2.1. Attendance records and monitoring. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5113. 5113 was revised on April 5th of 2022. Then we have 5090.1 student due process rights. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4 student discipline. And also policy 5020.1 non-discrimination. They recommend only one policy in each area for consistency and legal compliance. Policy 5113. That's wrong. 5020.1 non-discrimination was revised on 10/12/2021. Now we are up to 5090.1.2 age of majority emancipated minors. Shipman and Goodwin recommend the board repeal this policy because it is unnecessary and state law outlines the effects of emancipation. Policy 5090.1.4 student misconduct in schools. Shipman and Goodwin recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4 student discipline. They recommend one policy for consistency and legal compliance. Policy 5110.4 was revised on January 4th of 2022. Now we're up to policy 5090.3.2. They recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4 student discipline. Again, that was January 4th of 2022. It was revised. Policy 5090.3.3 student conduct on school buses. They recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4. That was updated January 4th of 2022. 5090.3.6.1 hazing. They recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4 student discipline. And again, that was January 4th of 2022. Policy 5090.8 weapons and dangerous instruments. They recommend repealing this policy as it overlaps with policy 5110.4 student discipline. Again, that was January 4th of 2022 that we revised it. Now we're up to policy 5100.1.2, the Equal Access Act. This is and Shipman and Goodwin indicate this policy is not necessary, and they recommend repeal. (5120.4.2.7) racial harassment of students. Shipman recommends repealing this policy as it is duplicative of the existing policy 5020.1 non-discrimination, which was updated on 10/12/2021. The policies that are up for a second read tonight that are for repeal and replace. Number 5030, assignment of students to schools. You have a copy in your packet. This is the second read. All of the changes are the same as from the previous read. Policy 5120.4.1 suicide prevention and intervention. This is a second read. And just a note, we have regulation 5120.4.2.1 suicide prevention and intervention. It's included in your packet for review. It is not up for a vote because it is a regulation. Then we have policy 5144 physical restraint, seclusion of students and exclusionary timeout. The current policy is recommended to be are rescinded and replaced with the new physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout, policy 5144. There's also a regulation 5144, physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout, that is included in your packet for your information. It is not up for a vote because it is a regulation. Then we have policy 5220, improve completion rates of the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA. This is a second read. This is a new policy. This is required by statute. In accordance with Public Act number 31-199, boards of education must adopt a policy to improve completion rates of the FAFSA by students enrolled in grade 12 or an adult education program maintained by the board. Now we have policy 6030, school calendar. This is the second read for this policy. I'm sure we're all familiar with this one. So we discussed it briefly in our committee meeting because we wanted to make sure that we had a clean copy and everyone was aware that from the last revision to this revision, there were a couple of small changes that Shipman and Goodwin recommended it. So I just want to bring it to your attention. The first one is line 7, where they recommended crossing off the words or exceed. And then if you go down to line 27, number 5, they recommended adding in the phrase in accordance with applicable law. And there was discussion about Veterans Day, and we are leaving it as it stands from the previous revision. Veterans Day, observe Veterans Day by holding school-based Veterans Day observance activities. And the rest of the changes are the same until you get to the last part under legal references, where lines 70 to 73 have been crossed off. And the word day was crossed off and changed to year in line 69. And those were the recommended changes from Shipman and Goodwin that were different from the previously revised version. So that is the version that is up for a second read this evening and an action item. Policy 6080.23 homeschooling. Before I move on, school calendar right now is an action item under number 10 in the motion to approve the following policies. And there was a request made to remove it from that number 10 and make it its own item 10.1. So I would need a motion to remove policy 6080.23 school calendar to item number 10.1. So I'll make that motion.
You want to do that now, or did you want to just do that when we get there?
Let's do it right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we
do it.
So I make the motion that I just said.
Second,
Thank you.
By Diane, second by Maureen
And this is to add the agenda item,
to add
amend the agenda.
agenda. I don't know. Number, what is it, 10?
10.1.
10.1. To. The action. On policy. Number 60, what's the number? No, I'm kidding. 6030 school.
I say it in my sleep now.
It's really the 200th read. I'm kidding. Policy 6030 school calendar, take action. Period. All right, so
Discussion.
motion by Diane, seconded by Maureen to add agenda item number 10.1 to take action on policy number 6030 school calendar. Any discussion on the motion to add the agenda item? Any discussion? Going once, going twice. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. No, you want
No,
to.
you,
Oh, sorry.
this is our agenda. item.
And I'm sorry, how did you vote, Mary Ann? Aye, okay, thank you. All right, so that's 8-0 carries. And then when we get to
That's back to me.
action item 10.1,
Back to Megan Fishman.
yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So now we are up to 680.23 homeschooling. We have the revised version here. It remains the same as the previous read. It is a second read and action item tonight. There's also a regulation 6080.23 administrative regulations on homeschooling. This is included in your packet for your information. It is not up to vote because it is a regulation. Then we have policy 6080.26.4 enrollment in advanced course or program or challenging curriculum. The current policy is called advanced courses placement and is rescinded and replaced with the 6080.26.4 enrollment in advanced course or program and challenging curriculum. No changes from the previous read. And the last policy is 6130.2.2 curricular exemptions. This policy was revised and is in your packet. There are no changes from the previous read. And that is the end of my report.
Bravo.
If there are any questions on any of the policies, please ask them now.
Okay, any other questions for Diane? Thank you. That was a very detailed and awesome report. No questions? Okay.
That took me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Seems a lot longer.
Didn't it?
Okay, so learn liaison, Mary Ann.
We'll be meeting on the 15th.
Okay. Thank you. 8.7 Town American Rescue Plan Funding Committee, Emily.
No report. We have not met since last time.
Okay. Item 8.8 Town Marijuana Advisory Committee, Mary Ann.
No report because we haven't met.
Okay, thank you. Okay, action item 9. This is a motion to rescind the following policies. Number 2250 crisis management, number 5010 student policies, goals, priority objectives, number 5020 equal educational opportunity, number 5030.1 intra-district school attendance areas, number 5040 school census, number 5060.3 withdrawal from school / dropouts, number 5070.2 assignment of former homeschooled students to class, number 5080.1 tardiness, number 5080.2.1 attendance records and monitoring, number 5090.1 student due process rights, number 5090.1.2 age of majority / emancipated minors, number 5090.1.4 student misconduct in schools, number 5090.3.2 vandalism, number 5090.3.3 student conduct on school buses, number 5090.3.6.1 hazing, number 5090.8 weapons and dangerous instruments, number 5100.1.2 Equal Access Act, number 5120.4.2.7 racial harassment of students. So we have that action item that came through the policy committee. Do I have a motion to vote on those?
So
So, okay, I'll take Jim, seconded by
second.
Maureen. To rescind those policies that I just enumerated. Any further discussion? Further discussion? No, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Aye.
That's the motion carries 8-0. Okay, thank you. Action item number 10.
9.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Action item 9.1. This is an move to adopt policy 5070.
Precision.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Move to, you're right. To
Rescind
rescind.
policy 70.1 assigned.
I'm sorry. Item action 9.1. Motion to rescind policy 5070.1 upon a waiving of the second reading. This was moved by, hang on, I need to add this in here. 9.1. Action item. Rescind. Number 5070.
I'll make that motion.
On. Waiving. Reading. By Diane. Second. By,
Someone sign it.
have a second, Maureen.
Usually everyone seconds it.
All right, so this is action item 9.1 to rescind. Policy number 5070.1 upon a waiving of the second reading. Motion was by Diane, seconded by Maureen. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? 8-0. Thank you. All right, now, action item 10. Action item 10 is a motion to approve the following policies. Number 5030. Assignment of students to schools. Number 5120.4.2.1. Suicide prevention and intervention. Number 5144, physical restraint and seclusion of students and use of exclusionary timeout. Number 5220, improved completion rates of the FAFSA. Number 6080.23, homeschooling. Number 6080.26.4, enrollment in an advanced course or program or challenging curriculum. And number 6130.2.2, curricular exemptions.
So moved.
All right, so that's moved by Diane, seconded by Maureen. Now, if you notice, item number 60, policy number 6030, school calendar, I did not read in that list because we moved to pull that out and make it the next action item to vote on separately. So this is a vote on all those enumerated items that I read out loud, specifically to exclude 6030 school calendar. Any further discussion on that? Any further discussion?
No.
No, last call. Okay. All right. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And any abstentions? Okay, motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Yeah. Now, action item 10.1, we're gonna skip that. I'm kidding, Diane. And honorary number 6030. Action item 10.1 is a motion by Diane, seconded by,
That was the agenda item. Now we need a new motion
oh yeah, that was the agenda item.
to approve
Yes.
policy 6030 school
Yes.
calendar.
Thank you.
I will make that motion. And I will second it. And I will
Okay,
pass.
so Jen will second that motion. And to approve policy number 6030 school calendar.
Yes.
And that's
I
what
made
thought
the
we
motion,
voted
Jen
on
seconded.
because we voted to move it already earlier, but that's okay.
We're up to discussion.
Yes, any discussion on action item 10.1, moved by Diane, seconded by Jen, to approve policy number 6030, the school calendar, as it's currently amended. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to say that I'm on the policy committee and we've gone over this one several times. I'm not in favor of it the way it's worded right now. I would have liked to have seen more things hardwired, some things I would have liked in it, but our group kind of went back and forth and we didn't come to a total agreement. And my opinion was in the minority and I respect that. But for that reason, just because I feel like it could be more hardwired and I think we're going to revisit this later in the future because we're not doing it right now. That's why I'm not in favor of it. But I just wanted to say that, you know, that me voting no on this is in no way a reflection of how I feel about the policy committee. I'm proud to work with both of you and we've gotten a tremendous amount of work done this year. And The vast majority of it was done by you, Diane
When.
and Wendy. And you all have done a tremendous job, and I'm proud of the work and happy that this is the only one little thing that we didn't fully agree on. So I just want to say thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? No further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And any abstentions? Okay, so it's 7-1, motion carries, thank you. And I suggest that we revisit this next meeting.
I'm gonna be sick. For tour meeting.
All right, action item number 11, motion to approve disposal and of used books and equipment. There was a list in our packet. Do I have a motion? By Jen, seconded by. Thank you, Emily. Any discussion? Discussion? No, all in favor, aye, aye,
Aye.
opposed, nay,
Abstain.
abstention, one, okay. So
You
we
get a
have,
chance to read them all.
yeah, so we have one abstention and Mary carries 7-0-1. Right, is that how I recorded it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Action item 12, motion to approve a donation in the amount of $4,900 in scholastic dollars to purchase classroom books for Ryerson Elementary School from the Ryerson PTO. That's a very generous donation.
So moved.
So it's
Second.
moved by Diane, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion?
Thank you to Ryerson PTO.
Absolutely.
And to all the families for their participation in, you know, the scholastic book fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love that.
I love it.
Scholastic
Oh, yeah.
fair. Yeah, I'm a geek, whatever. All right, any further discussion besides acknowledging my geekdom? No, all right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay, and any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0, recognizing my geekdom. Action item 13, motion to approve the printmaking curriculum.
So moved.
That's by Stephen.
No, second.
And seconded by Jen. Any discussion?
Great.
Discussion, yeah. No, okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And so we have 8-0 again. Thank you. Action item 14, motion to approve the minutes of the November 15th, 2022 Board of Education meeting.
So there's a correction.
There is a correction. Okay.
Yes,
so-
under 10.2. Dr. Writer's last name is misspelled. I didn't catch that.
10,
How did I catch that? Should be VYC.
10.2 Facilities Committee. Whose name is misspelled? Where is it? Oh, Jack, oh, yeah, it's BYCE, that's right. All right, sorry, I was busy looking at that. So we got the Babic spelled right, but vice misspelled.
Can't get it all.
So, motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So
As amended. Of the November 15, 22 Board of Ed meeting by Diane, seconded by Jen. Any further discussion? Further discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay, 8-0, thank you. And now we get to the good part, any future agenda items. Meetings and dates of importance are noted in our packet. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So second.
Jen? Diane? Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay, extensions, motion carries 8-9. I'm gonna say it, didn't carry one time to see if you guys are paying attention. Thank you all for being with me.
Thank you.